My beloved one, listen carefully. This is not a random moment, and this is not a random message. Archangel Michael steps forward, now with urgency in his voice and authority in his presence. He says, I am trying to reserve your name in heaven, but time is pressing, and the choice before you is more serious than you realize. This message has found you because something eternal is connected to your attention right now. There is a reason your spirit felt a pull to click on this. There is a reason your heart beat a little faster when you read those words. Archangel Michael is not speaking in symbols today. He is speaking plainly. He says that names are being reviewed, not written in ink but in alignment. Heaven does not record names by habit. It records them by obedience, faith, and response. You may think skipping a message is small. You may think scrolling past is harmless. But Archangel Michael reveals that some moments carry weight far beyond what the mind can measure. This is one of those moments. He says that your name had been spoken in the courts of heaven recently, not in judgment, but in consideration. A space hath been prepared, but it has not yet been sealed. Hear this clearly. Heaven does not erase names casually, but when a soul repeatedly ignores divine interruptions, when warnings are brushed aside and invitations are delayed again and again, something sacred begins to withdraw. Not out of anger, out of respect for free will. Archangel Michael says, I will not force what must be chosen. Right now, there is a thin window open. It is not fear that opens it. It is mercy. You have been given signs before. Quiet nudges. Gentle reminders. Unexpected pauses in your day. This message is louder because the season has shifted. What was once optional is now urgent. Archangel Michael stands as a protector, a warrior, and a witness. He says that he has been assigned to guard certain destinies that are under threat of delay, distraction, and doubt. Your destiny is one of them. Not because you are perfect, but because you are called. And called people are often the most tested. You may have felt spiritually tired. You may have felt distant, numbed, or unsure of where you stand anymore. That feeling is not rejection. It is a signal, a warning light on the dashboard of your soul. Archangel Michael says, when the soul grows quiet, heaven speaks louder. This is not about religion. This is about alignment. This is about remembering who you were before fear taught you to shrink, before disappointment taught you to delay obedience. Your name carries a sound in heaven, a tone, a purpose. And right now, that sound is being evaluated based on your response to truth. Archangel Michael reveals something startling. He says that many people believe their name is automatically secured in heaven just because they believe, just because they once prayed, just because they meant well. But heaven records consistency, not intention. Heaven responds to movement, not memory. Do not misunderstand this. God's love is constant. His patience is deep. But assignments expire when ignored long enough. Doors do close when knocking stops. Not as punishment, but as consequence. Archangel Michael says, some doors close quietly. Others close forever. This message is not meant to scare you. It is meant to awaken you. Fear paralyzes. Truth mobilizes. And the truth is this. Your attention right now is part of your obedience. The way you respond to this moment reflects how you respond to God's voice when it interrupts your routine. Archangel Michael says that names in heaven are not just labels. They are scrolls. Each scroll contains purpose, protection, and promise. When a person repeatedly resists divine timing, the scroll does not vanish instantly. It fades. Access becomes restricted. Clarity becomes harder. Peace becomes rare. Have you noticed that some things feel harder than they used to? That joy requires more effort. That clarity feels distant. Archangel Michael says these are not coincidences. They are symptoms of misalignment, not abandonment. Right now, heaven is watching not to condemn, but to see if you will lean in or turn away. This message is a checkpoint, a pause in your scroll, a moment where the pen hovers above the page, waiting for your response. Archangel Michael says, if they stay, I will continue. If they leave, I will honor their choice. This is not about perfection. It is about priority. It is about choosing to listen when heaven speaks instead of silencing it with distraction. Your name is not erased because of one mistake, but it can be withdrawn when a soul repeatedly says, later. Later is the most dangerous word in the spiritual realm. Later slowly turns into never, and never hardens into distance. This is your moment to choose awareness over apathy, presence over passivity, alignment over delay. Archangel Michael is standing guard right now, not with a sword raised, but with a record open. And before you decide what to do next, know this: what comes next in this message reveals why your name was brought up now, and what specific action keeps it secure. Beloved soul, something shifts the moment you choose to stay. Archangel Michael speaks again, but his tone is different now. It is no longer only urgent, it is intentional. He says attention is alignment. Staying is already a response. The fact that you did not turn away means heaven has permission to go deeper with you. There is a truth many never hear. Archangel Michael reveals that heaven does not only watch actions, it weighs decisions made in silence. The moments when no one is watching. The moments when you could walk away, but you don't. Those moments echo loudly in the spiritual realm. Right now, your staying is echoing. He says that names in heaven are tied to testimony. Not the testimony you tell others, but the testimony your life tells heaven. Every delay, every obedience, every yes, and every avoidance leaves a mark. And today, heaven is not asking about your past. It is asking about your posture right now. You may feel unqualified. You may feel inconsistent. You may feel like you waited too long. Archangel Michael responds firmly, delay does not disqualify. Refusal does. There is still grace in this moment, but grace must be received, not assumed. Understand this clearly. The warning was never about punishment. It was about priority. Heaven is reorganizing assignments. Some people are stepping into new authority. Others are being bypassed, not because they are unloved, but because they are unavailable. Availability is heaven's favorite language. Archangel Michael shows a vision of a registry, not written on paper, but glowing with light. Names are active or inactive, not saved or erased. Active names receive direction, protection, and acceleration. Inactive names experience confusion, resistance, and unnecessary struggle. The difference is not favor. The difference is response. This explains why you have felt restless, why comfort no longer satisfies, why distractions feel louder but emptier. Your spirit knows you are meant for more, and that knowing has become uncomfortable. Archangel Michael says discomfort is often the last mercy before distance sets in. This is where many people misunderstand God. They think silence means peace. But sometimes silence is warning. When heaven stops interrupting, it means permission has been given for a person to live with their choice. This message is an interruption, a loud one, because heaven still wants you. Archangel Michael speaks directly to the fear in your heart. A fear of failing again. A fear of committing and falling short. He says, heaven does not require flawless execution. It requires faithful direction. You are not being asked to know everything. You are being asked to choose alignment over avoidance. Right now, something practical matters. This message is not meant to stay private. When truth resonates, movement must follow. That is why I ask you to engage. Like this message, not for numbers, but as a signal. Share it because someone else's name may be waiting on the same warning. Comment, because confession activates clarity. And if this message aligns with your spirit, subscribe and stay connected, because consistency is how heaven builds trust. This channel exists to deliver messages many never hear. When you support it with your engagement, you are not supporting a platform. You are participating in a calling. Heaven notices cooperation. Archangel Michael says something powerful here. When they engage with truth publicly, they realign privately. Your small actions create spiritual momentum. Do not underestimate them. There is also a reason this message is unfolding in layers. Some truths must be earned by attention. If everything were revealed at once, many would mishandle it. That is why clarity comes to those who stay, not those who skim. You are not here by accident. And this moment is not isolated. It is connected to decisions you will face soon. Choices that look ordinary on the surface but carry eternal weight underneath. Archangel Michael is preparing you, not pressuring you. He warns that distraction is the enemy's favorite tool, not because it is loud, but because it feels harmless. These are not sins, but they slowly train the soul to ignore urgency. And urgency is often where destiny hides. Right now, heaven is not asking you to change everything. It is asking you to choose awareness, to stay present, to let truth finish speaking before you decide what to do with it. Archangel Michael says, the next revelation explains why this moment is connected to your future protection. What is coming next reveals what has been quietly forming around you, and why staying alert right now matters more than you think. Hold on, this is where the message becomes personal, and you will want to hear what is revealed next. Chosen one. Archangel Michael draws closer now, and the atmosphere shifts from warning to revelation. He says what you are feeling is not imagination. It is protection activating. There are moments when heaven does not just speak to guide, but to shield. This is one of those moments. Something unseen has been forming around you, and this message is part of the defense placed over your life. You were not meant to hear this earlier. You were meant to hear it now. Timing matters in the spiritual realm. Archangel Michael reveals that when a name is being reserved in heaven, resistance often intensifies on earth. Not because the enemy knows everything, but because alignment disrupts plans that were quietly counting on your delay. There have been subtle interruptions lately. Sudden tiredness when you try to pray. Random distractions when you seek clarity. Emotional heaviness without a clear cause. Archangel Michael says these are not coincidences. They are indicators that your attention has value. If your focus were insignificant, it would not be contested. He shows an image of a threshold. On one side is familiarity, routine, and comfort. On the other side is authority, clarity, and protection you have not yet experienced. The threshold is narrow, not because God withholds, but because focus must be precise. Many stand near it. If you cross it, Archangel Michael says your name is being spoken in places you cannot hear. Decisions are being influenced by prayers you prayed long ago. Some answers were delayed not because heaven said no, but because timing was guarding you from stepping in too early. And now the timing is shifting. This is why the warning about skipping matters. Skipping is not just absence. It is withdrawal. When a soul withdraws repeatedly, protection thins. Not removed but reduced. Heaven honors free will so deeply that it will not override a person's decision to disengage, even when danger is nearby. Hear this carefully. You are still within reach. This message itself is proof. Archangel Michael says, if erasure were imminent, silence would have come instead. The fact that you are hearing clarity means reservation is still active. There is something specific he wants you to know. A season is approaching where discernment will be more valuable than speed. Choices will come quickly. Voices will be loud. Opinions will be persuasive. Without alignment, confusion would be easy. This message is sharpening your awareness in advance. You may not see the threat. Most protected people never do. Protection works best when it stays unseen. But Archangel Michael says the reason he is speaking now is because awareness multiplies protection. When you know you are guarded, you move differently. You choose differently. This is also why fear has tried to attach itself to responsibility in your life. Fear wants you to believe that obedience costs too much, that commitment is dangerous, that staying attentive will overwhelm you. Archangel Michael responds, fear exaggerates the cost to keep you from the covering. Your name in heaven is not just a record. It is a reference point. When challenges arise, heaven looks to alignment before releasing reinforcement. This is not punishment. It is protocol. Heaven moves through agreement. Right now, agreement is being offered. Not forced. Offered. You are being invited to consciously say yes, not just with belief, but with attention, with presence, with willingness to stay when it would be easier to drift. Archangel Michael says something tender here. I am not guarding perfection. I am guarding intention. Heaven works with hearts that are turned, even when they stumble. What heaven cannot work with is indifference. As this message continues, understand that what is being restored is not just clarity, but confidence. The quiet confidence that you are not alone, that your steps are seen, that your name has not been forgotten. This is a moment of sealing, not ending. A moment of remembering, not erasing. And how you respond inwardly matters more than any outward action. Type I receive the seal in the comments if this is speaking to your spirit. Lesson code 444 has just been released. Now hear this gently but firmly. If this message is feeding your spirit, it is because God is using this channel as a river, not a reservoir. What flows through must keep flowing. I am speaking directly to those who feel the weight of this word and know it is not just for them. When you sow into this mission through Super Thanks, membership, or PayPal, you are not funding content. You are lighting lamps for souls who are still in darkness. The Lord is saying, as you release, I release. As you sow, I cover. This is not charity. This is obedience in motion. Do not delay what heaven is prompting you to do now. I speak blessing over every giver, that what you place in God's hand will return pressed down, protected, and multiplied. Act now, and let your obedience become someone else's answered prayer. Beloved one, as the seal settles, Archangel Michael does not step away. Instead, he stands watchful, attentive, as if something important must be understood immediately. His voice is steady now, not urgent, not warning, but deeply intentional. He says, sealing is only the beginning. What follows determines strength. Many receive a moment of clarity, but few understand how to walk in it without losing it. Right now, heaven is not testing you. It is training you. There is a difference. Testing exposes weakness. Training builds endurance. The season you are entering is not meant to break you. It is meant to stabilize you. Archangel Michael reveals that instability is one of the greatest threats to destiny, not because it is sinful, but because it makes a person vulnerable to confusion. You may notice that after moments of spiritual clarity, life often tries to rush back in. Responsibility, the noise, emotional demands. The world does not pause just because heaven spoke. This is where many people lose what they just received. Not intentionally, but gradually. Archangel Michael says, "What is not guarded will always be challenged." This is why awareness must turn into discipline. Not rigid rules, but conscious choices. Choosing stillness when distraction calls. Choosing truth when emotion distorts. Choosing patience when urgency tries to push you into premature decisions. Heaven is teaching you how to remain aligned, not just how to encounter alignment. There is something important you must hear. Alignment does not mean everything suddenly becomes easy. In fact, resistance may temporarily increase. Not because you are doing something wrong, but because clarity exposes what was once hidden. When light enters a room, dust becomes visible. That does not mean the room got dirtier. It means you can now see. Archangel Michael explains that many people mistake resistance for confirmation that they should stop. But resistance often appears right after sealing because it is the last attempt to pull you back into old patterns. Old thinking. Old habits. Old excuses. These patterns are familiar, and familiarity can feel safer than growth. But hear this clearly. Familiarity is not protection. It is comfort. Protection comes from alignment, not routine. This is why heaven sometimes disrupts what feels stable. Stability without alignment becomes stagnation. You may feel a quiet pressure to be more intentional lately, to speak differently, to react differently, to choose differently. This is not heaviness. This is refinement. Archangel Michael says refinement is not about removing joy. It is about removing interference. There is also a warning here, spoken gently. Do not announce every shift you feel to everyone around you. Some changes need time to root before they are shared. Not everyone needs access to what God is forming in you. Premature exposure can weaken developing strength. Archangel Michael says, guard your process, not out of fear, but out of wisdom. Even Jesus withdrew at times, not because he was weak, but because timing matters. Silence is sometimes a shield. You may wonder why certain conversations no longer satisfy you, why some environments feel draining instead of energizing, why small talk feels heavier than before. This is not arrogance. It is adjustment. When your alignment changes, your appetite changes too. This does not mean isolation. It means discernment. Knowing where to pour energy and where to conserve it. Knowing when to speak and when to stay quiet. Heaven is teaching you to listen not just to words but to atmosphere. Archangel Michael also addresses a subtle trap. Spiritual pride. It can sneak in quietly, disguised as confidence. But true alignment produces humility, not superiority. Awareness of calling should make you more patient with others, not harsher. More compassionate, not more critical. If you ever feel yourself looking down on others because of what you are learning, pause. That is not alignment speaking. That is ego borrowing spiritual language. Archangel Michael says, authority walks softly. What is forming in you right now is inner strength, not outward display. A steadiness that does not panic when plans change. A calm that does not collapse when outcomes delay. This kind of strength takes time. It cannot be rushed. Heaven is also preparing you for clarity in relationships. Some connections will strengthen. Others may quietly fade. Not every separation is rejection. Some are redirection. Alignment sometimes requires distance, not because love is gone, but because purpose is shifting. Do not force what feels strain. Do not cling to what God is loosening. Trust that what remains will be what sustains you. Archangel Michael assures you that your name remains secure as long as your heart stays responsive. Not perfect. Responsive. Listening. Adjusting. Returning when you drift. Heaven values return more than flawless consistency. As this message unfolds, understand this. You are not being rushed. You are being rooted. Roots grow slowly, unseen, but they determine how tall something can stand without falling. And what comes next will help you recognize the signs that confirm you are still aligned, even when emotions fluctuate. Because alignment is not always felt, but it is always fruitful. Beloved soul, Archangel Michael now shifts your attention from what is forming inside you to how alignment reveals itself over time. He says many look for signs and feelings, but alignment is confirmed through fruit. Emotions fluctuate. Circumstances change. What fruit tells the truth? And right now, heaven wants you to understand what kind of fruit to watch for. One of the first signs of alignment is clarity without force. You begin to understand things without striving to understand them. Decisions that once felt heavy start to feel simple, not because they are easy, but because confusion is lifting. This does not mean you always know the outcome. It means you know the direction. Another sign is restrained. When aligned, you react less and observe more. Situations that once pulled you into emotional loops no longer hook you the same way. This is not indifference. It is maturity. Archangel Michael says restraint is one of the highest forms of spiritual strength. You may also notice that certain temptations lose their intensity. Not because they disappear, but because they no longer satisfy. What once promised relief now feels empty. This is not loss. It is liberation. Alignment changes desire before it changes behavior. There is also an increase in discernment. You sense when something is off without needing evidence. You recognize when words do not match intention. This does not make you suspicious. It makes you perceptive. Archangel Michael warns, however, that discernment must be paired with love. Without love, discernment turns into judgment. Another fruit is patience under pressure. Not passive waiting, but steady endurance. You stop rushing God for answers and start trusting timing. You understand that delay is not denial, and silence is not absence. This patience does not come from self-control alone. It comes from security. Security is another fruit. A quiet knowing that you are held, even when outcomes are uncertain. This security does not eliminate fear, but it keeps fear from ruling you. You feel fear, but you do not follow it. That is alignment at work. Archangel Michael also points out a subtle but powerful sign. Gratitude begins to surface naturally, not only when things go well, but even when they don't. You start thanking God for protection you cannot see, for delays you don't yet understand. Gratitude in uncertainty is a mark of trust. You may notice your prayers changing. Less begging, more listening, less urgency, more surrender. This does not mean you care less. It means you trust more. Alignment shifts prayer from persuasion to partnership. However, there is something you must guard against. Comparison. Alignment is personal. Your path will not look like someone else's. When you compare, you step out of your lane and into confusion. Archangel Michael says comparison is one of the quickest ways to weaken alignment. Do not measure your progress by visibility. Some of the most protected seasons are the quietest ones. Not everything God does in you needs an audience. Growth often happens in obscurity because obscurity removes pressure to perform. Another fruit is correction without condemnation. When aligned, conviction comes gently but clearly. You sense when something is off, and instead of feeling crushed, you feel guided. Shame pushes you away from God. Conviction draws you closer. Learn to tell the difference. You may also find yourself drawn to stillness more than noise. Silence becomes comforting instead of uncomfortable. This is not emptiness. It is fullness. When the soul is aligned, it no longer fears quiet because quiet is where clarity lies. Archangel Michael emphasizes that alignment is not a destination. It is a posture. You will adjust many times. You will drift and return. What matters is responsiveness, not rigidity. Heaven does not expect perfection. It expects humility. There will be days when you feel strong and days when you feel unsure. Do not panic on unsure days. Faithfulness is not measured by emotion. It is measured by direction. Are you still turning toward truth, even when it is inconvenient? Heaven also wants you to understand this. Fruit takes time. Do not rush results. Do not dig up seeds to check if they are growing. Trust the process. Growth is happening even when you cannot see it. Archangel Michael reassures you that your name remains active because your heart remains open. As long as you are willing to listen, adjust, and return, heaven remains engaged. What comes next will help you recognize the distractions that specifically target aligned people, so you can remain steady when they appear. Because awareness without wisdom can still be vulnerable. Beloved one, Archangel Michael now speaks with the tone of a watchman. Not alarmed but alert. It says alignment that packs attention, and not all attention is friendly. This is where many sincere souls become confused. They think resistance means they miss something. In truth, resistance often appears because something is finally in place. Distraction is the most common tactic used against aligned people. Not obvious temptation, not dramatic opposition, but subtle redirection. Small interruptions that slowly pull focus away from what matters. Harmless delays, endless busyness, emotional noise. Archangel Michael says distraction works because it never asks you to say no to God outright. It simply keeps you too occupied to say yes fully. You may notice your schedule filling up with things that feel urgent but not meaningful. Conversations that drain rather than build. Thoughts that loop without resolution. None of these are sins, but together they create distance. Alignment does not break instantly. It erodes quietly when attention is divided too long. Another tactic is discouragement disguised as realism. Thoughts like, "This is taking too long," or "nothing is really changing," or "maybe this is just emotional." These thoughts sound reasonable, but they are designed to make you doubt what you already know. Archangel Michael says doubt does not always shout. Sometimes it whispers calmly and waits to be agreed with. Comparison returns here as well, but in a more dangerous form. You begin to question your pace by looking at someone else's progress. You wonder why their path seems clearer, faster, easier. What you cannot see is what they are carrying or what they are missing. Alignment is not about speed. It is about accuracy. Another distraction is overexposure. Consuming too many voices, too many opinions, too much information. When everything speaks, discernment weakens. Archangel Michael warns that wisdom requires boundaries. You do not need every update, every debate, every explanation. Some clarity only comes when noise is reduced. Here is also emotional bait. Old wounds resurfacing unexpectedly. Past disappointments replaying in your mind. This is not random. The enemy often revisits what once hurt you to see if it still controls you. Healing does not mean you never remember. It means memory no longer dictates behavior. Archangel Michael says something important here. But no longer controls you may still try to contact you. Just because something shows up does not mean it has authority. You get to choose what you engage and what you release. Fatigue is another tactic. Not just physical tiredness but spiritual weariness. Feeling like effort is heavy. Like consistency is draining. This does not mean you are weak. It means you need rest, not retreat. There is a difference. Retreat pulls you away from alignment. Rest restores you within it. Do not confuse the two. Rest is intentional. Retreat is avoidance. Archangel Michael encourages you to pause when needed, but not to disengage. Even staying connected in small ways keeps alignment intact. This is also why community matters. Isolation makes distraction stronger. When you walk alone too long, perspective narrows. That is why engaging here matters more than you think. When you like this message, comment, share it, and subscribe. You are not just supporting a channel. You are choosing connection over isolation. This message is not meant to be consumed silently. Interaction keeps you present. It grounds truth in action. And when you share it, you become a bridge for someone else who may be drifting without realizing it. Heaven honors participation. Not perfection, participation. Staying connected keeps awareness sharp. If this message resonates, do not keep it to yourself. Let it circulate. Let it interrupt someone else at the right moment. Archangel Michael also cautions against urgency that pressures rather than guides. Not every opportunity requires immediate response. Alignment teaches you to move when led, not when rushed. Pressure creates mistakes. Peace confirms direction. If something is truly from God, it will withstand patience. It will not demand panic. It will not collapse if you wait for clarity. Learn to trust peace more than excitement. Excitement fades. Peace anchors. Another distraction is nostalgia. Looking back with selective memory. Remembering the comfort of old seasons without recalling why you left them. Archangel Michael says nostalgia can make prisons look like homes. Be careful what you romanticize. You are not moving forward because the past was bad. You are moving forward because the future requires growth. Comfort is not calling you. Purpose is. This part of the journey is about vigilance, not fear. Awareness, not anxiety. You do not need to guard against everything. Just stay attentive. Stay responsive. Stay connected. And before this message continues deeper, take a moment to check yourself. Are you listening with your full attention, or half of it? Because what is revealed next explains how to recognize when a distraction is actually a test in disguise. Stay with this. What comes next is crucial. Beloved one, Archangel Michael now speaks with precision, because what he is about to reveal requires discernment, not emotion. He says, not every obstacle is an attack. Some are examinations. This distinction matters more than you realize. Many people resist what was meant to refine them, and in doing so, they delay their own growth. A test does not arrive to destroy alignment. It arrives to measure it. Tests reveal what has truly settled within you versus what was only felt temporarily. When alignment is shallow, tests feel overwhelming. When alignment is rooted, tests feel challenging but clarifying. You may notice situations repeating in slightly different forms. Similar conversations. Familiar pressures. old patterns knocking with new faces. This is not coincidence. Archangel Michael says repetition is often mercy. Heaven gives you another opportunity to respond differently, not because you failed before, but because you are now stronger. Tests often come disguised as opportunities. Something looks good, sounds right, feels exciting, but carries a subtle urgency that bypasses peace. Alignment never rushes discernment. If something pressures you to decide before you can listen inwardly, pause. Pressure is not confirmation. Another form of testing is delay after promise. You sense direction. You felt clarity. And nothing moved. Silence followed. This is where impatience tempts many to manufacture progress. Archangel Michael warns that forcing outcomes during silence often leads to unnecessary correction later. Silence is not absence. It is space. Space to grow roots deeper than excitement. Space to learn trust without constant reassurance. Heaven sometimes withholds movement to see if you will remain aligned without feedback. There is also testing through contradiction. People misunderstand you. Motives are questioned. Support feels inconsistent. This does not mean you are wrong. It means your validation is shifting from external approval to internal conviction. Alignment matures when approval becomes optional. Archangel Michael says, if affirmation is required, authority is not ready. Authority grows in quiet confidence, not applause. This is why some of your growth feels lonely. It is not abandonment. It is preparation. Tests can also appear as success. Doors open quickly. Recognition comes suddenly. Influence expands. Success without grounding can pull a person out of alignment faster than failure. That is why humility must increase with opportunity. Pride is subtle and often arrives dressed as confidence. Stay teachable. Stay grounded. Stay aware that every gift requires stewardship. Alignment is not proven by how much you receive, but by how well you carry it. Another test is emotional turbulence without clear cause. Mood shifts. Inner restlessness. A sense of being unsettled even when life seems stable. This is often a signal that something needs adjustment. Not drastic change, but honest reflection. Archangel Michael encourages you to ask, what is this revealing? Instead of why is this happening? Revelation leads to growth. Resistance leads to frustration. Testing also exposes attachment. Anything you fear losing too much has power over you. Alignment loosens unhealthy attachments without stripping blessings. You begin to hold things with open hands instead of clenched fists. Do not confuse attachment with love. Love is secure. Attachment is anxious. Alignment transforms attachment into trust. Another important truth is this. Tests are time-sensitive but not rushed. You are not expected to answer perfectly. You are expected to answer honestly. Heaven values sincerity over speed. If you respond poorly to a test, do not spiral into shame. Shame is not corrective. It is paralyzing. Correction invites adjustment. Shame demands hiding. Archangel Michael says, heaven corrects to restore, not to accuse. You are allowed to learn. You are allowed to grow. You are allowed to adjust. What matters is responsiveness, not flawless performance. As alignment deepens, tests become more internal than external. Less about circumstances, more about posture. How you think. How you interpret. How you choose in moments no one else sees. These internal tests shape character. Character sustains destiny. Without character, destiny becomes dangerous. Archangel Michael reassures you that no test you face is meant to erase your name. Tests exist because your name matters. Heaven does not test what it has no intention of using. You are being shaped for stability, not spectacle. For longevity, not intensity. For faithfulness, not flashes of inspiration. What comes next will reveal how to respond when a test feels overwhelming, and how to distinguish between a test you must endure and a door you must walk away from. That understanding will protect you from unnecessary struggle and preserve your alignment in seasons ahead. Beloved soul, Archangel Michael now speaks with deep compassion, because discernment without mercy becomes heavy. He says, not every weight is meant to be carried, and not every door is meant to be endured. This is where many aligned people struggle. They confuse endurance with obedience, and loyalty with wisdom. Heaven wants to free you from that confusion today. There are tests you are meant to endure, and there are doors you are meant to walk away from. The difference is not always obvious, but alignment makes it clear over time. Enduring tests refine your character. Long doors drain your strength. One builds you. The other slowly empties you. Archangel Michael reveals that endurance always produces peace beneath the pressure. Even when it is hard, there is an inner steadiness that says, stay. But wrong doors produce anxiety without growth. You feel restless, unsettled, constantly questioning yourself. That is not refinement. That is warning. Many people stay in places God already released them from because they are afraid of disappointing others or starting over. But obedience to heaven will always matter more than comfort with people. Archangel Michael says, you are not disobedient for leaving what God has finished. Another sign is fruit. Tests may hurt, but they bear fruit over time. Long doors consume effort without return. You give, adjust, sacrifice, and still feel depleted. Alignment does not exhaust you permanently. It may stretch you, but it restores you too. You must also understand this. Endurance is never about proving your worth. Your worth is settled. Endurance is about strengthening your trust. If you feel like you are constantly trying to earn peace, approval, or clarity, pause. That is not alignment speaking. Archangel Michael addresses guilt here. Guilt often masquerades as responsibility. You feel responsible for fixing things that were never yours to carry. You feel obligated to stay because you stayed before. But heaven does not bind you to past decisions when new clarity arrives. Leaving a wrong door does not mean you failed. It means you learned. Wisdom is not stubbornness. Wisdom is adjustment. Another indicator is how prayer feels. When enduring the right test, prayer brings relief even if circumstances remain unchanged. When stuck in a wrong door, prayer feels blocked, strained, repetitive. Not because God is distant, but because your spirit is resisting what your mind is justifying. Archangel Michael says, I do not ask my children to suffer to prove loyalty. Obedience is not suffering for suffering's sake. Obedience is alignment with truth. You are allowed to choose life, peace, and clarity. Struggle is not always noble. Sometimes it is simply unnecessary. There is also timing involved. Some doors were right for a season but are wrong now. Alignment is dynamic. What once required endurance may now require release. Do not judge your present decisions by past assignments. Stay in the chain because you chained. Archangel Michael reassures you that walking away does not erase your name. Staying where you are misaligned does far more damage. Heaven honors courage rooted in truth. You may feel fear about what comes next. Uncertainty can feel intimidating. But uncertainty with alignment is safer than certainty without it. When God leads you out, He already knows where you are going. This message is not permission to quit everything that feels hard. It is permission to discern wisely. Ask yourself, is this strengthening my faith or slowly suffocating it? The answer matters. As this part closes, Archangel Michael reminds you that discernment grows with honesty. Stop lying to yourself about what is draining you. Stop spiritualizing what God has already exposed. Truth is not cruel. It is protective. Type "I walk in discernment" in the comments if this resonates with your spirit. Blessing code 818 has just been activated. And now hear this as a continuation of what God is already stirring in you. This message is reaching you because heaven is using this channel as a gate, not entertainment. I hear the Lord say, those who help carry this word will share in its harvest. When you support this mission through super thanks, membership, or PayPal in the description, you are sowing into discernment for others who are still trapped behind the wrong doors. This is a prophetic response, not a casual act. Do not delay the obedience that is rising in your spirit right now. I release blessing over every giver, that God will close draining doors and open protected ones over your life. Give now, and let heaven respond swiftly to your faith. Beloved one, Archangel Michael now shifts the focus inward, because after discernment comes decision. He says knowing is not the same as choosing. Many receive clarity, but hesitate at commitment. This is where alignment is either strengthened or weakened. Decision locks in direction. Indecision drains power. You may feel a quiet tension right now, a sense that something needs to change, but the exact step feels unclear. This is normal. Heaven rarely reveals the full path at once. It reveals the next faithful step. Trust grows when you move with partial light. Archangel Michael explains that decision does not always mean dramatic action. Sometimes it means internal agreement, letting go mentally before anything changes outwardly, shifting posture before shifting position. Heaven responds to inner decisions faster than external movement. This is why some breakthroughs happen suddenly after a quiet moment of surrender. Nothing changed visibly, but something aligned internally. Alignment is born in the heart before it shows up in life. There is also fear attached to decision. A fear of regret, fear of loss, a fear of making the wrong choice. But Archangel Michael says fear loses power when decision is rooted in truth, not impulse. You are not choosing blindly. You are choosing with discernment. Another truth must be understood. Not deciding is still a decision. And decision defaults to the status quo. And the status quo may be the very thing draining you. Delay feels safe, but it often costs more than action. Decision also invites resistance. Once you choose alignment, distractions may intensify briefly. Old voices return. Doubts get louder. This is not a sign you chose wrong. It is often the final attempt to pull you back into hesitation. Archangel Michael encourages you to ground your decisions in peace, not excitement. Excitement fades quickly. Peace remains even when emotions fluctuate. Peace does not mean the absence of challenge. It means the presence of confidence beneath it. You may also notice that once you decide, certain things naturally fall away. Conversations stop. Opportunities fade. People drift. This is not loss. It is alignment, rearranging your environment to match your direction. Do not chase what God is removing. Do not cling to what no longer fits. Trust the pruning. Pruning is painful, but it creates space for healthier growth. Another aspect of decision is consistency. One good choice followed by many careless ones weakens alignment. Consistency does not mean rigidity. It means returning to truth daily. Realigning when you drift. Choosing again when needed. Archangel Michael says, alignment is maintained, not achieved. It is a daily posture, not a one-time event. You will choose many times, sometimes quietly, sometimes boldly. There is also grace in decision. God is not waiting for you to choose perfectly. He is waiting for you to choose honestly. Even a decision that needs adjustment later is better than perpetual indecision. Heaven is not fragile. You will not break destiny by making a sincere mistake. But hesitation can stall it unnecessarily. Movement allows correction. Stillness invites stagnation. As you decide, notice what brings life and what drains it. Life-giving choices align with truth. Draining choices often come from fear or obligation. Let life be your guide. Archangel Michael assures you that your name remains secure as long as you continue choosing alignment, even imperfectly. Heaven tracks trajectory, not momentary missteps. You may feel the weight lifting slightly as you read this. It is because decision brings relief. Even before outcomes change, the soul rests when direction is chosen. This part of the journey is about courage. Why courage? The courage to choose peace over approval, truth over familiarity, alignment over comfort. And before this message continues, understand this. What is coming next explains how to remain faithful to your decision when emotions fluctuate and circumstances challenge it. Because decision without endurance can still be shaken. Stay with this. The next revelation will anchor what you are choosing now. Beloved soul, Archangel Michael now speaks with firmness, because decision must be guarded to remain effective. He says what you choose today must be protected tomorrow. Many people decide correctly, but fail to sustain that decision when emotions fluctuate or circumstances challenge it. This is where faithfulness is proven, not in the choosing but in the continuing. Once a decision is made, the mind often revisits it. Questions arise. Doubts resurface. Feelings shift. This does not mean the decision was wrong. It means the soul is adjusting to a new direction. Alignment often feels unfamiliar at first because comfort was built in the old patterns. Archangel Michael explains that the first threat after decision is emotional memory. You remember how things used to feel. The safety of familiarity. The predictability of old routines. Even if they were draining, they were known. Alignment introduces uncertainty, and uncertainty can trigger anxiety. This is normal, but it must not lead you back. Another challenge is external pressure. People may not understand your shift. They may question your choices or misinterpret your intentions. This does not mean you need to explain yourself. Not every decision requires justification. Some choices are confirmed internally, not publicly. Archangel Michael says, when God confirms you, explanation becomes optional. Peace is your confirmation, not applause. There will also be moments when progress feels slow. You chose alignment, but life did not instantly improve. This is where impatience tries to rewrite your decision. Remember this. Alignment is not transactional. You do not obey to control outcomes. You obey to stay true. Faithfulness means staying consistent even when results lag behind obedience. Roots grow before fruit appears. If you abandon the ground too early, you never see the harvest. Another test is distraction returning with new intensity. Old habits, new temptations, increased noise. This is not failure. It is pressure testing. Alignment is being strengthened, not threatened. Resistance reveals value. To remain faithful, simplify where possible. Too many commitments dilute focus. Too many voices blur clarity. Too much noise weakens your vision. Archangel Michael encourages you to protect your attention fiercely. Attention is fuel. Where it goes, strength follows. This is also why staying connected matters. Do not isolate yourself after deciding. Isolation makes doubt louder. Community reminds you why you chose alignment in the first place. Engage. Participate. Stay present. If this message is helping you remain steady, let your action reflect it. Like this video so the message reaches others who are standing at the same crossroads. Comment to anchor what you are receiving. Share it with someone who needs confirmation right now. And subscribe to stay connected, because consistency strengthens discernment over time. Your engagement is not small. It is a declaration that you are choosing truth repeatedly, not just once. Archangel Michael also warns against overcorrecting. Do not become rigid or harsh with yourself. Alignment is not perfectionism. You will have off days, moments of doubt, emotional dips. Faithfulness means returning, not condemning yourself. Grace is part of alignment. Without grace, obedience becomes exhausting. With grace, obedience becomes sustainable. There is also the temptation to look for constant reassurance, wanting signs, wanting confirmation again and again. But faithfulness learns to trust what has already been revealed. You do not need a new sign every day. Sometimes you need to stand on the last word you receive. Archangel Michael says, "What was clear then remains true now." Do not let fluctuating emotions rewrite settled truth. You may feel lonely at times. That does not mean you are alone. Heaven often draws close in quiet ways, not dramatic ones. Learn to recognize peace as presence. Faithfulness also involves forgiveness. Forgiving yourself for past delays. Forgiving others who did not support you. And forgiveness ties you emotionally to the past. Alignment requires release. As you continue, you will notice strength increasing quietly, confidence stabilizing, reaction softening. These are signs of faithfulness taking root. You may not feel powerful, but you are becoming steady, and steadiness of lasts intensity. Archangel Michael assures you that heaven honors faithfulness more than flashes of passion. Destiny is built by those who stay when excitement fades. And before this message moves deeper, pause for a moment. Check your heart. Not your emotions, but your direction. Are you still choosing alignment, even quietly? Because what comes next reveals the long-term impact of faithfulness, and why heaven invests deeply in those who endure. Stay here, this is where everything begins to make sense. Beloved one, Archangel Michael now reveals what faithfulness quietly builds over time. He says, what you protect today will protect you tomorrow. This is a truth many do not see until much later. Faithfulness does not always produce immediate reward, but it establishes something far greater than momentary relief. It builds spiritual infrastructure. It creates stability that does not collapse when pressure increases. Most people measure progress by visible change. Heaven measures it by internal strength. When you choose alignment repeatedly, even in small ways, something invisible but powerful forms around you. Discernment sharpens. Authority settled. Peace deepens. You stop being easily shaken, not because life gets easier, but because you become steadier. Archangel Michael explains that faithful people begin to carry weight in the spiritual realm. Not the weight of burden, but the weight of trust. Heaven entrusts more clarity, more responsibility, more influence to those who have proven they can remain aligned without constant reassurance. This is why some people seem to move with quiet confidence. They are not guessing. They are grounded. You may notice that situations that once overwhelmed you no longer have the same power. Challenges still appear, but they do not derail you. You recover faster. You respond wiser. You pause before reacting. These are signs that faithfulness is reshaping your inner world. Another effect of faithfulness is spiritual authority without aggression. You no longer need to prove yourself. You no longer need to convince others of your calling. Authority speaks through consistency, not volume. Archangel Michael says, "Those who walk with heaven do not need to announce it." Faithfulness also creates boundaries naturally. You become more selective with your energy. Not out of fear, but out of wisdom. You understand that not every invitation deserves your presence. Not every conversation deserves your response. Boundaries stop feeling selfish and start feeling necessary. This does not make you cold. It makes you clear. Clarity protects compassion. Without boundaries, compassion turns into exhaustion. Another long-term effect is spiritual sensitivity without fragility. You remain tender toward God, but resilient toward pressure. You feel deeply, but you are not easily wounded. This balance is rare and valuable. It allows you to stay open without being overwhelmed. Archangel Michael reveals that faithful people become anchors in unstable environments. Others feel calmer around them, even if they cannot explain why. This is not charisma. It is alignment. Peace becomes contagious when it is genuine. You may not yet see how your faithfulness is influencing others, but it is. Quiet obedience often impacts lives you may never meet. Heaven moves through unseen networks of alignment. There is also a refining that happens over time. Your desires become simpler. Your priorities become clearer. You stop craving constant stimulation. You value depth over noise. This is not boredom. It is maturity. Faithfulness also reshapes how you hear God. His voice becomes easier to recognize, not louder, but clearer. You distinguish between impulse and instruction more quickly. Discernment becomes instinctive rather than effortful. Archangel Michael says, when alignment becomes habit, confusion loses access. This does not mean you never face uncertainty. It means uncertainty does not paralyze you. You may notice that even when you make mistakes, you recover with humility instead of shame. Shame weakens authority. Humility restores it. Faithfulness teaches you how to return without hiding. Another impact is endurance. Not the kind that grits teeth and survives, but the kind that adapts and continues. You stop burning out because you stop striving in your own strength. You learn when to rest without retreating. Rest becomes a discipline, not an escape. You honor your limits without abandoning your direction. This balance sustains alignment long term. Archangel Michael also addresses legacy. Faithfulness does not just affect your present. It shapes what comes after you. Decisions made quietly today influence paths that cross yours later. You may be preparing ground for others without realizing it. This is why heaven takes faithfulness seriously. It is not about rule-keeping. It is about trustworthiness. When heaven finds someone who stays aligned through seasons, it invests deeply. You may still face moments of doubt. Do not fear them. Doubt does not cancel faithfulness unless you follow it. Questioning can coexist with obedience. What matters is direction, not the absence of questions. As this message nears its final revelation, understand this. You are not being rushed toward an ending. You are being led into understanding. Everything revealed so far has been preparing you for one final truth about your name, your alignment, and why this moment mattered more than you knew. Stay present. What comes next brings completion, not pressure. It brings clarity, not fear. And it reveals why your name was never as fragile as you were led to believe, as long as you chose to stay aligned. Beloved child, Archangel Michael speaks now with completion in his voice, not an ending, but a sealing of understanding. He says what was then was never your worth. It was your awareness. This message was never about fear of erasure. It was about awakening you to the power of attention, alignment, and response. Your name was not hanging by a thread. It was waiting for agreement. From the beginning, heaven was not testing your perfection. Heaven was inviting your presence. Skipping was never about punishment. It was about permission. What you choose to listen to determines what you allow to shape you. And today, you chose to listen. Archangel Michael reveals something deeply reassuring. Names in heaven are not erased by accident. They are not lost because of weakness, confusion, or delay. They are preserved by grace and activated by alignment. The danger was never one mistake. The danger was prolonged disengagement. You stayed, and staying changed everything. Your name carries authority because it carries intention. Heaven responds to hearts that turn, even slowly, even imperfectly. Alignment is not fragile. It is resilient. It bends, adjusts, returns. As long as you are willing to listen and respond, heaven remains involved. This is why peace hath been settling in quietly. Not excitement, not emotional highs. Peace. Peace is heaven's signature when alignment is restored. Fear agitates. The truth steadies. Archangel Michael says, what was meant to scare you was meant to anchor you. Awareness has now replaced anxiety. Understanding has replaced urgency. You are no longer listening out of fear, but out of clarity. From this point forward, you walk differently. Not louder, not faster, but steadier. You will recognize distraction sooner. You will recover quicker from missteps. You will trust peace more than pressure. These are not small changes. They are markers of maturity. Your name remains active because your heart remains responsive. Heaven does not demand constant intensity. It values consistency. Returning matters more than never drifting. Listening matters more than never questioning. Archangel Michael also wants you to release one last weight. The fear that you are always one mistake away from losing everything. That fear does not come from God. God corrects, but he does not threaten identity. What was spoken earlier was not doom. It was direction. Your destiny is not erased by weakness. It is delayed by disengagement. And today, disengagement ended. You are not behind. You are not late. You are not disqualified. You are aligned. And alignment changes how heaven partners with you. There will still be choices. There will still be adjustments. But now you understand the language of heaven better. You know how to listen. You know how to return. You know how to choose awareness over apathy. This message does not ask you to be afraid of skipping. It invites you to value presence. Wherever you give attention, alignment follows. Let that guide you beyond this moment. Archangel Michael stands not as a warning now, but as a witness. A witness that you heard. A witness that you stayed. A witness that your name remains written, active, and protected. Type "My name is sealed" in the comments if you receive this truth. Blessing code 1212 is now activated. And now hear this as the final echo of what heaven has been releasing through this word. I am speaking directly to those who felt this message settle deep, not as emotion, but as confirmation. The Lord is saying, those who help preserve this voice will share in its reward. When you give through Super Thanks, membership, or PayPal in the description, you are not donating, you are responding prophetically. You are helping reserve space for messages that awaken souls who are still drifting. This is seed into eternal ground, and heaven records it. I speak blessing over every giver now, that your obedience will protect your household, your peace, and your future. Do not delay what God has placed in your hand. Act now, and let your generosity become a seal of alignment over your life.